Welcome to our lovely future humans, to the 5D collective, to those who are curious on how to be emotionally intelligent. So number one, you have a window of welcome to your emotional body, so your nervous system, versus what is a window of tolerance that needs expanding. But we're going to look at the window tolerance so that you can take a quick peek at yourself in your ears. Give me a minute. And notice if you have a mental, emotional, and physical mastery. So are you able to be yourself the smart way? That means stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. And with all my attachment trauma education, I'm going to let you know, besides being a 5D mystic in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, who's a mentor, content creator, podcast host, it's very clear that those who do not know how to own their sense of self and self-regulate will not be emotionally, mentally, physically, or anything intelligent, reflective, aware, accountable, all of it. So our 3D, 4D brothers and sisters, they shame each other. They think God wants to shame each other. All that great stuff. It's not great. God encourages, strengthens, comforts, and challenges his children like lovely Gaia, Mother Earth, Akash, Source, Shakti, Shiva, all of that which is within the creator sphere. The stories from yesterday's news, when they're throwing books at people, it's because those are called 3D, 4D left-brainers, and they don't actively have their emotional body online. So they're all hypocrites. You're going to hear about the hypocrites. I make fun of them because they're liars, and I don't like liars. So they also are not emotionally healthy. They don't live spirituality and manifestation. Yes, this podcast tells you I'll manifest. But if you're manifesting with your unfinished business from your childhood, you're going to continue, in fact, being around Jigo's family. And that's why you won't be at IHP. Because inspiring human potential is only done with those who elevate, not those who are mediocre. Mediocre people are not dangerous to those who elevate. They are actively people we accept, respect, and love because we cannot force a person to learn how to navigate their window of welcome to their emotional plane because they don't even have a window of tolerance to themselves. They are dysregulated. So as long as they don't learn self-regulation independently from other, they will nowhere be found to inspire tomorrow because they're already talking about yesterday's news. So the 5D collective, we get to be the ones who live our highest timeline because we're being ourselves the real way. We get to see our scars not as something that is a pain point dragged around, but as the beauty that they are because God is perfect, Akash, Source, Anima Mundi. So when you're expanding consciousness, spiritual growth, or if you just assign spiritual growth, you're going to go with the flow. Neuroscience, neurobiology, all of that proves how our lovely embodied brain works. Okay, so the window of tolerance, the things that shrink it, the bad habits of those who have negative self-talk, inner outer critic, they have emotional suppression. They typically will not only suppress, but they will also have the chronic substance abuse, alcohol, drugs. I did smoking. In fact, smoking, for example, we'll talk about that when I'm going to have some stories. I still smoke cigars and drink some wine, but this is the difference. When you're a emotionally intelligent person, you're savoring it. Doesn't make it better or worse. If I had never had one drop of wine, I had never had a cigarette, would I have done? No. But you know when you're addicted to something. So, for example, I haven't been addicted to anything, but people say, yes, you were. And I will say, you don't know my body. But let's talk about it for argument's sake, I think is the right way to put it. Coffee, I was drinking more than what I should have because that's the social thing to do. Luckily, it's coffee and not alcohol, so I wasn't risking cirrhosis of the liver. And so with the coffee, I said, okay, at a certain point, after reading a bunch of articles, I need to get this back down to a specific number. And I did go through that withdrawal stuff, but it was like one day and that was it. Okay, so when you have emotional intelligence, it's because you own the embodied brain of yours, and that's why brain, mind, body, you want your health. So it's not hard to break bad habits. Those who have chronic substance abuse because of emotional suppression, because they don't have their window of welcome or tolerance to themselves, as Gabor Mate points out, he says, not why the addiction, why the pain. I'm going to say, how do you not notice that you're treating yourself and your embodied everything, your body, like a piece of shit? It's easy. And when I met adolescents doing it, I just thought, okay, well, I smoked cigarettes and I did do this silly thing with alcohol, but I didn't do what they're doing. And no, I didn't do any drugs, and I still don't want to do drugs. And as a 45-year-old woman, guess what? They make fun of me. And I'm like, sure, keep making fun of me. I don't need it. I'm a mystic. Don't you know? I'm an Akashic record reader. I have clairs. I got intuition. I got all of it. I got the ascended mat. They're all here with me. They're just waiting for me to line them up. We might have some of that too because we got a full moon coming up. So the shrinking of the window tolerance, it involves a lack of support system, which typically happens to people who don't have a healthy around each other. So if you have mediocre, unhealthy, self-soothing people, you're going to copy the bad habits. Also, you got people who are suppressing their emotions, survival mode. They think that getting yelled at in the face is great. They think that it's okay to drink and get wasted in ways that are oblivious to me as a teenager. I already knew that. College, what? Now I'm a grown-up. Smoking cigarettes doesn't make me feel disgusted. Somebody wanting to drink themselves to death, not disgusted. It's your choice. Not judging you. You're going to get to make your own choice. So people who want to be judgmental, that's called martyr superiors, and then blamers victims, and those are codependent people. So they're not able to do emotional intelligence because they're not physical, mental, emotional masters of themselves. When you can self-regulate, that's why the window of tolerance is a window of welcome. Okay, so we don't go pointing fingers at people. We authentically know how to talk. That's why one of my friends, when we became friends finally, he had this thing one of the days. He's like, I'm doing my family a favor by drinking this much, and I can't help myself because I'll always speak the truth to people that I'm in good relationships with, because that's why we are friends. So I don't have friends that are, sensitive egos. Yes, because I can't hide what I think. I don't want to. I'm not a liar. I'm not a coward. So my friend blurts this shit out, and I said, what, cirrhosis to the liver? It was automatic. And he's like, no, Maria. I was like, come on, dude. You know how it works. I'm not trying to shame you. I'm just saying. You're giving your family nothing except for cirrhosis to the liver. And then we just laughed together. And, well, he was drunk, so he doesn't remember the things I tell him anyways. And that's another part about the chronic substance abuse. It doesn't matter what you say to people. They don't remember it. So besides emotional suppression, besides being wasted behind, sleep deprivation. This one's really funny because I got a guy who talked to me an entire evening about how my mindset is wrong and that age is nothing and that you can actively not sleep at all and fuck people and drink and eat and do all this stuff and it's mindset. And this is the same man who fell the week prior 3 times on the floor with a woman who, thank goodness, they didn't die, because they were near the sidewalk when they were outside. Inside, they actually were very rude, biologically rude people. And don't cheat us like we don't know what we're doing. We know what we're doing, to somebody who was helping them. Okay, so this is where it's like, okay, once they got they left. And this is this guy who the week after is telling me about him knowing health and knowing how sleep is not anything that is needed. Then furthermore, move on to fast forward, there's another time like, well, everything you told me about attachment and security, I'm as healthy as can be. And I was like, we weren't talking about him, but okay, yeah, well, we keep talking. And then he's like, the system's trying to hold us down. And there was another friend of mine, they're like teenagers, so the system it's not trying to hold anyone down. There's no law that makes you not have the capacity to drink. They're just trying to make sure you don't drive and drink, and people are complaining about that. And so, at the end of the day, I would say if everyone was a healed, emotionally intelligent person, then we wouldn't be having these issues, because you would actually savor the wine. You would actually savor the beer. You would actually savor it, which means that you can do without it. Like with cigarettes. I wanted to get down to number 3 because I like the flavor of my cigarettes. But because they had become a part of my habit with the panic attacks, so with a way to de-stress when the panic attacks, right? So that's where I was smoking, and when I would have some anxiety stuff and thoughts, and then also when I was writing. So I was like, okay, you're trying to get it down to 3, Maria, but all of these things are what this supported you. So and that's when God, as I said, he encourages, supports, strengthens, and comforts. He didn't shame me. No, he actually made it very clear how I was going to quit. I was like, yeah, thanks, universe. You helped. And from one day to the next, I was done. And I was like, wow, it's as if I never smoked. You didn't have withdrawal? Nope. Didn't get, nope. So when people want to keep saying to people what they know about addiction based on a book, sure, your book might say some things, but some of us aren't addicted to the substances because we don't use it to suppress our emotions. We can use it as a means to de-stress, yes, like I said, with panic attacks, anxiety, but we can acknowledge it's not good. You know why I acknowledged it? Because my tongue would be very, not great. It would be what's the word, prickly or whatever. So I'm like, okay, I need to stop. I'm not enjoying the amount of cigarettes I'm smoking. I know it. I want the 3. They're great at a 3 point. So I was able to eventually substitute with cigars, and I still moderate that very easily. Sleep deprivation, not good. Chronic stress, trauma, limited access to healthcare. I've seen people who have healthcare and they don't actually use it. Lack of support system. So shrinking the window tolerance. What instead expands your window tolerance is when you have compassionate self-talk and compassionate people. Self-regulation, co-regulation only if you have those who are emotionally intelligent. The rest and quality sleep of the utmost importance. Regular exercise, yes, physical exercise. I'm still sloppy with that, but I'm better because of my scoliosis. I have to maintain a specific level of physical health. The nutritionist diet is going great. It's added energy, it's added everything. So now that I can begin to work out too. Mindfulness practices, that's what we do with the mindsight skills. So you shift sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts. We like to play and have hobbies, and so that's what expands your window tolerance. And once you're a window welcome to emotions, you can have a holistic support system with those of us who are here at IHP and elsewhere. Mental fitness is a lifestyle for those who are intentionally living the 5D collective, the real way, not just using words, okay? So access to healthcare, I do believe that that is something that we want more people to have, but what I've noticed is if they get the bad therapists, it's not the healthcare. So you are going to have one of 2 groups of people at this point in our lovely human history. The ones who like the true stuff because they know it works and then they can do it moderately. The ones who only want the one-size-fits-all box stuff of what they prefer and don't prefer. And so with that, when you are emotionally intelligent, like I'm trying to get to, or smart way, stable, because you have 2 sides of the brain, and bilateral, vertical, overall. You're self-regulating. You don't need to co-regulate. Okay, so you're mature, so that's why you're an emotionally, mentally, physically intelligent master of yourself. You're not managed by your 14-month-old, and you don't have unhealthy habits. And if you do, you take ownership, and you're not feeling like, oh my God, how awful. They're looking at me disgusted because I smoke cigarettes. No, I just thought, wow, okay, sure, keep looking at me disgusted while you do your drugs and your alcohol. I'm just going to keep knowing that my body's in use, stress, and yours isn't. I'm not going to speak a word to you because thank goodness I get to not speak a word to everyone. Adaptability, because I adapt to circumstances. The man who said, the system's trying to hold us down. I'm like, okay, come on, guys. But I said, if that's how you feel, rational, because I know subjective reality and then I know objective truth. Objective is the data proves it. Science works. And in fact, it works to the point of where, thanks Stephen Porges, people make up bullshit stories the minute they are ashamed of themselves. That's why it's a shame continuum. So they objectify, dehumanize, and what they don't like and what they like, they put on pedestals and bad grown-ups. God doesn't shame his children. Encourages, strengthens, comforts, supports. Doesn't say there's bad JoJo and Juju. That's ridiculous. And when someone wants to bring to me conspiracy theory, keep it coming, and theories, because I know Bill Nye and I like him. He's a smart guy. And so is Neil deGrasse. I'll take all the scientists. They can talk down to the mystic. I'm woo-woo pseudoscience for a reason. It's because I know who smart ones are. And science doesn't disprove God. It actually proves that God is perfect because every one of his children's embodied brain is moving towards their health. But guess who doesn't want it? Blah, 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 blah. The 2-year-old. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Let's be some compassionate, Maria. I'll bring it in. It's not Lucifer monsters. No, the inner critic and outer critic. It's the substance abusers. It's the chronic suppressors. It's the ones like the man who said the system is trying to hold us down and looking me in the face as we were not even talking about him and saying I'm a healthy man, and the other guy too. And I'm like, okay, I like my other friend better, the functioning alcoholic. At least he has the decency to know when I'm telling him the truth. Look, dude, you're not healthy. Like, come on. I'm going to respect you and love you, but don't bring me the lie. I didn't judge you in the first place. And that's how it works. And that's why my friend laughs with me, and we then look, and he looks at me now, and I say, you know, I love you, right? And he's like, yep. And he calls me Poopy. Well, no, he doesn't call me Poopy. He calls me another thing, but he introduced me as Poopy to my American family the day he did. I almost started to cry as he learned to speak better English so that he could introduce himself to my family. And he was so sweet about it. And then he still is sweet. And I'm still sad that he's not going to live a healthy life. But Like my Pinocchio friends who told me, yeah, Maria, I drank 5 beers today. I noticed. No, I didn't. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, and yesterday, and I'm still drinking. Aha, so you're telling me right now I'm an alcoholic. Aha, so what should I do? Because I love you. Well, look, I'm smoking too. Okay, so I'm just wondering, I love you. Do you want me to do something about this? And my other friends like, no, Maria, we like it. We want to live a best life ever. So you say, okay, I want your happiness. So you want me to support your bad habits and your unhealth, right? You're telling me this. Is that what love is? So love is me letting you know that I'll be concerned for you, but I support that you have bad habits and you want to tell me that I'm stupid. Yes, sure. This is how it works when you meet grown-ups, by the way, who are not even remotely bothered by the fact that they're looking in the face of someone who's like, okay, I don't know what to do with this. Shaming doesn't do anything, by the way, because at the end of the day, like they said, we're having a good time. We don't want to live a miserable life. That's why it doesn't work. In fact, actually, when people try to shame people, that doesn't ever work because you don't talk sense and you don't shame when someone's convinced and committed to their unhealthy lifestyle. So you don't actually have the rationality to say be rational. You do have the teachability. So I learned from all the attachment trauma educators what to do. Nothing. Because you can't make someone acknowledge that they have a problem, like my functioning alcoholic friend. So in the meantime, mental, emotional, and physical mastery is what the 5D collective is at. We get to self-regulate. My window of welcome, you can thank the panic attacks. They gave me a lot of practice with fear. Then with the emotional, mental stuff, you can thank my entire oversoul because, I have soulmates, twin flames, and then you can thank, obviously, this body and my mom and my twin and my younger sister and all the family extended and God. And so when you're emotionally intelligent, it's because you are getting to our next episode. We're going to have that one with stories. Be yourself. Since I was a teen, I was myself the smart way, and that's why my brain, mind, and body, which is self-led, got into the habit of knowing. So health is in the middle. Yes, emotionally mature people trace the lines of their scars without distorting it with some kind of suffering bullshit stories. So Buddha, please stop with the suffering. People who talk about suffering. Some people are ignorant and they are suffering and they are full of rage and anger. And those human beings need a therapist to heal them if they ever want to get over what happened to them. Once they're emotionally mature, have compassion, self-regulate, then they'll know why we forgive easily and why we don't co-regulate. Because when I'm in the presence in a room of people who are on a low frequency, I'm not in it. I'm calibrated to Maria's ventral energy frequency, and their body will be reminded of what their potential is. The seed of enlightenment can enlighten. The kingdom of God is within them, and that's because they're an embodied brain. Our species is a biology and part of the animal kingdom. So I don't need to actually do one thing to be protected by anyone or from anyone, because the minute shame wants to stay in shame and low frequency, there's one of two ways it always goes for the 5D collective, mystic, spiritual, mindful. It's either we expand together because I have healthy boundaries, or we don't. When you have healthy boundaries, like anybody will tell you, it's not about characterological distinctions. You love, accept, respect all. That's what emotionally intelligent people do, and it's with science and spirituality, and that's why it's always in the middle. Good professionals, good grown-ups know the middle. They don't manipulate their words. They, in fact, will choose to share with you. Manipulation is done by all. I will educate, explain, and share, and if you don't like it, I will allow myself to say, okay, you don't have to like it. And then, once the science continues to prove what your health is, again, and it's not about let's do the tit for tat, I told you so, okay, that's the other part. So, I love to see those who take bold steps forward. Protecting the future means that we are in our beginner's mind. Emotionally intelligent people, the time to replenish is because we have our own healthy self-worth. And so you don't need somebody to self-regulate. You self-regulate, and the emotional intelligence is by being yourself. And that's why you enjoy practices that involve our inner growth mindset exercises, our readings, our spotlights. That's for the paid content that we have on Spotify. So you can subscribe. There's a link below. If you're tuning in, you can subscribe by going to the main page. Then we have some content for Patreon that will be coming out for our 8th and 9th chakra awakening, and all of you who are expanding. So spiritual and personal growth, come and join us. And again, self-led people are going to be here because they're the ones who have what it takes, because they do enjoy self-talk, and they do enjoy self-emotional talk, and they enjoy living a life full of meaning and connection beyond the soul self, so true spirituality. They like to live with other humans. The Pleiadians are already here. The future humans are here. There's a bunch of stories that 3D40 talks about. We're going to talk about them some more once our tears are out and whatnot. But in the meantime, every human being, 8 billion and growing, has the opportunity to be their highest timeline, their true self. They don't all want it. I see the 3D40 who are committed to their stories because the narrative is what they're using. The 2-year-old is what was scared, and the brain does what it can. So we all choose convenience over everything. And when you have unhealthy self-soothing mechanisms, the maladaptive patterns of behavior, it's an inner critic, outer critic, drinking, drugging, fucking, and it's a teenage version of anyone who's this, who wants a superhero and supervillain, and they will continue to use that which is what makes them quickly have what is a very numb feeling, by the way. So they will completely disregard that they don't have emotional depth. They have what is emotional numbing. It's called pseudo-alive. In fact, it's very clear to those of us who are emotionally intelligent when you get explained, shown, and you see it. And that is why the body doesn't learn how to get out of dysregulation. It continues to go on and off, on and off, on and off, and that body will be under distress, which is unfortunate because they could have gotten it done, healed. To move into becoming securely attached, owning your personality patterns, owning all of your temperament. Thanks, Dr. Dan. Being able to work with those lovely, he has 9 domains of integration. I took the test, and it is accurate to a T for Maria. So if you actually know yourself, once I get done with all the reading for our mentorees, I definitely will have organized, see how I can use it. But there's agency, there's bonding, and there's certainty. And so those who have agency, mapping, directing, harmonizing, bonding, it's immersing, producing, caregiving, and certainty seeking, preparing, and questioning. And when he used the PDP framework in a mindfulness workshop, he said it supported all of those who had some areas where they were having a bit more of a challenge to move into expansion. That makes sense because it's using your 3 subcortical areas, and that is for agency, anger, if I remember correctly. Remember, I fuck things up and forget it. Bonding would be crying, the heart, and certainty is cerebral, and so it's actually thinking things through, and it's really amazing. It's amazing to be a part of the community of the emotionally and mentally intelligent ones. Everyone can achieve their physical mastery, but as an Akashic record reader, what I can also tell you is that a gazillion people, and I'm exaggerating, but there's a number of people who choose the convenience of their adapted child part. Their black and white thinking, their 0-8-year-old is in the lead, they're managed by their trauma charges. They don't choose self-led, they choose ego-led with trauma charges, which is why the structurally dissociated simply play out their childhood. And therefore, they play out whatever it is that they will have committed to by the time that their subconscious decided things. You don't change yourself. You don't change your story. When someone says, let's brainwash ourselves, you will go to good therapists, take ownership once you are, wow, my human story is amazing. Okay, I own all my child parts. Wow, the sense of self of mine. I observe, witness, narrate it all the time. Once every emotion that comes up is yours, use your human name. And you say, wow, I can get really angry sometimes. When you have flashbacks, those are the sensations, images, behaviors, affects, meanings, or however CBAM. So yeah, I still have plenty of things that come up. A self-regulating human being knows how to have a window welcome, knows, humanly speaking, what comes up, so I know what triggers things that come up. Again, images, parts of my story, and then I handle it with Maria because I'm the safe haven secure base of myself, because that's how personal growth and spiritual growth works. It doesn't mean you don't have a support system. No, you have a support system. But when you have a capacity to have not scars, but what is called unknowns, uncertainties, unexpecteds, and people you love in your life, and you learn how you can work through that, which is, again, an emotion that comes up, that's you making peace with something, that's you forgiving it, that's you being able to do that, which is, thank you, God, for the miracle of life, thank you, God, for the perfection of all the people in my life. Here's Akash Source. Thank you, Source. I got to meet all pieces of you. Hey, awesome. Humility. Look at that. I don't dress anybody up with the face of, they made a mistake. They have to remember it for the rest of their life. I'm going to give them a scarlet letter. I want to mark them and trace them. Really, you do now? I think you're calling out shame on someone. That's not teaching right or wrong. That's called revenge, rage, anger. Wait, that's right. Dumb brain. There you go. There's that dumb brain. That's what it does. When people get into anger, they stereotype, generalize, and then they say, this is the right way. And you say, sure it is. Subjective reality. Wow. You don't know, I'm not. And you leave it alone. Anyways, I learned how not to do any of what I just told you. But I'm explaining to you. When I meet dumbass people, I just think, wow, I have more entertainment for my community. And that's it. And I get to explain it to you, because casting a stone and giving a scarlet letter, that's not nice. I did it when I was a kid. I said, sorry, God, I didn't mean to say good, you do good, you do bad because you do drugs. But I'm very happy that I began to notice, yes, I'm not hanging out with all of you guys. You all do the bad stuff. Come tune into the stories. Otherwise, I'm going to keep losing people. So the ones of you who want the stories, how to be emotionally intelligent. Since you're a teenager, it's really easy when you're self-led. How to be a dumbass, you're going to hear about the stories, and I'm going to make fun of some of the people that I did know as a teenager. I need to organize the stories. But in the meantime, thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.